A drought is abnormally low levels of precipitation that harmfully impacts vegetation, animals, and people. Droughts also have social, economic, and environmental impacts. In a drought, it is more beneficial to have great snowpack so that it can melt into runoff in the spring. Unfortunately, this wasn't met in California. We had little to no snowpack and little to no rain.
Over time, runoff may turn to surface water. It gets stored in the ground. When there is little to no surface water, farmers must rely on pumping our groundwater. Since this poses problems for our state and the people who utilize its resources, I reached out to Mr. Daniel Arataberry, an expert in all things relating to agriculture. As a reliable resource, I knew Mr. Arataberry would have the answers to my questions.
So a lot of land fouling occurred, so the real balance was between groundwater, buying a little bit of surface water, and fouling an awful lot of acres. When you foul a lot of acres, you impact communities, you impact the operation here, you impact the employment levels here, and you import then into the communities, and so it kind of triggers back and forth. And you disrupt the economic fabric of the area.
The drought hurt one of California's pride and joys, agriculture.
By 2015, over 70% of California was experiencing exceptional drought conditions, and 46% was experiencing the most severe type of drought conditions.
La Niña created a high-pressure system off of California's coast. It caused a 4-year-long dry spell, sending our much-needed storms to other locations.
Unfortunately, it seems that droughts are going to be a reoccurring feature of our Golden State's golden climate.
If droughts are reoccurring, why would we want to farm here in the Central Valley?
So now a decision has to be made whether farming in California it has a value. And I think anybody who looks at as a policy of agriculture, farming here versus other parts of the world, needs to think about that we're a Mediterranean growing region. There are only 5 in the world. The only one in North America is California. And we have all of the regulatory aspects of food safety, probably really unparalleled in the world, that we do. So, to me, that makes us a pretty valuable farming institution.
California is, and has remained steadily, the largest agricultural producer in the United States of America by total outputs and in exports.
How do we ensure that farming will continue to flourish for generations to come?
For generations to come isn't just farming generation, but consumers generation, because reliable food production will become a bigger and bigger issue as the world gets bigger. Or conflicts in different parts of the world become a disruptor to the supply that may be coming here. Growing in California makes us the local producer. We will be insulated from all that.
In 2014, researchers found that farmers harvested over 640,000 fewer acres. This was 9% below pre-drought levels.
Since California is the breadbasket of the world, we knew that we had to address our agriculturally centered issues in hopes of continuing to supply the world's needs. This wasn't an easy task. Farmers and civilians alike were faced with new hardships that would burden them significantly.
During the drought, flowing water, like in the creek behind me, was scarce. In a time when we needed water the most, we had to learn how to innovate.
How were we able to accomplish this?
And it's not just a California issue. Freshwater shortage is a world issue.
Since water truly is a primary resource, we looked to how other parts of the world addressed water shortages.
The efficiencies that are available to us, that have been developed in different parts of the world, like Israel and such, are being implemented here. And we're being pretty clever about how we manage water supply. And I think that desalination is going to have to be a pretty aggressive program for those guys to make that work.
Desalination has had positive impacts in the country of Israel. They've been able to turn their environment from desert into usable farmland. Desalination is the process of removing salts primarily from seawater. Although this is not currently economically feasible, this is one effort that may prevent water shortage. It may take time for policymakers to approve desalination, even though it could have a positive effect on coastal communities throughout California. Water that used to supply these communities could in turn benefit agricultural processes, especially in the valley.
However, farmers will still need ways to conserve and preserve water. One simple and effective approach is through drip irrigation.
In this part of the world, we are pretty efficient about using water. Everything is under drip, the latest technology, because water is our most expensive, limited resources we got. Labor is also a component of that, but primarily it is the water. I think drip irrigation, if we had not had that, the fallowing in this last drought would have been much more severe if we were doing the old method of irrigation. So drip had blunted some of the impacts. It didn't do it all, but we didn't fallow as much of the farm if we were still on old methods. So we are better, we dealt with it better, although we still pumped a lot of water. And one of the problems with this particular drought that we just came out of, it was 4 years. Sometimes they're mostly usually 1 to 2. But 4 short years is a long time to be out of water. And I'm hopeful that the technology will keep up in managing farming in those future years for future generations, because if it cannot, then we'll lose an aspect of farming here. It may not get replaced. So there's no more over pumping the aquifers. Over pumping will be addressed by regulatory responsibilities. Science is going to be the driver for the solutions, because just about everything else we're implementing now. And thinking about the solutions for the current water problems, the drip has been one of them, but I think plant genetics are going to be the other. I think soil enhancements of making the water more efficiently be used by plants will be another component. And so those are going to be the things that hopefully science will address and allow farming here to continue through those 100 droughts, using less water and getting more produce for it.
Each of our actions and innovations today will impact our future.
You know, I think because the water is a limited resource, we have to be good stewards of its management. And
Our Earth is a precious gift given to us. How can we play a part in preserving its beauty?